Today, we're talking about the one thing that can make or break your project before you even write a single line of code. It's called the Systems Survey. And honestly, understanding this is your secret weapon for success.
I mean, you've seen it happen, right? A project just spirals out of control. The budget balloons, the deadlines become a distant memory, and at the end of it all, the final product doesn't even fix the original problem. It's just a frustrating and super common story. And you know what's crazy? Almost every single time you can trace that failure right back to the very beginning. It's a failure to plan, a failure to really investigate, and most importantly, a failure to understand what's actually going on.
Of course you wouldn't. Think about it. You'd want to know where the walls are supposed to go, where the pipes run, what the foundation is built on. Well, in the world of systems and software, the Systems Survey is that essential blueprint.
Okay, so if the Systems Survey is our blueprint, what does that actually mean? Let's dig in and break down what this foundational step is all about. At its core, a systems survey is basically a fact-finding mission. You can think of it like reconnaissance for your project. Before you commit all that time, money, and energy, you send in a team to map out the terrain, identify the real challenges, and figure out if this mission is even necessary in the first place.
And this, right here, gets to the heart of it. The whole point is to go from, I think the problem is, to I know the problem is. It's all about swapping out guesswork for actual hard evidence, and that is absolutely crucial for any project to succeed.
And this survey has very specific goals. This isn't just a casual look around. The analyst is trying to get a full 360-degree view. They're digging into the company's structure, they're getting into the technical weeds, and they're listening to what users actually need and want.
So, this brings us to the big why, right? Why go through all this trouble? Well, this is my favorite part. This is where the analyst puts on their detective hat. So what's the real payoff for playing detective before you start building anything? What does this upfront investment of your time actually buy you?
Well, the payoff is huge. Just look at this. The single biggest benefit, a whopping 40%, is just from saving time and money by killing the wrong projects before they even get started. Beyond that, it gets everyone on the same page, it involves users from day one, and it gives management the confidence they need to make the right call.
And here's the thing to remember. The analyst isn't just a technician here. They're an investigator. They are gathering clues from documents, interviewing witnesses, the actual users, all to build an airtight case for whether a project should move forward or not. All right, so we've got the what and the why. Now let's talk about the how. What's in this investigator's toolkit? Let's take a look at the methods they use to crack the case.
Now, this isn't random guesswork. It's a structured 7-step playbook. You start by defining the scope. Basically, what are we even looking at and why? Then you gather your background info, figure out who to talk to, and then you dive into the real fact-finding. Only after all that do you start analyzing the data to find the root problems and put together that final report.
And these are the main tools for the job. If you need to get the deep, personal stories behind a problem, you sit down and do interviews. If you need to get data from hundreds of people efficiently, questionnaires are your best friend. But to see how things really work, not just how people say they work, you've got to use observation. And of course, for the cold, hard facts, you review the documents. A great analyst, by the way, uses a mix of all of these.
And when we say they investigate, we mean it. The investigation is incredibly thorough. They're looking at everything from the company's org chart down to the specific models of the hardware. They're mapping data flows, hunting for bottlenecks, and calculating the real cost of running the current system. Seriously, no stone is left unturned. So, after all the clues have been gathered and every witness has been interviewed, it's time for the final act. This is the payoff for all of that hard investigative work.
Every piece of evidence, every interview note, every data point, every single observation, it all gets compiled into one powerful document, the Systems Survey Report. This is the final case file that gets handed over to the decision makers.
So what's inside? Well, it tells the whole story. It explains why the study happened, it paints a clear picture of the current situation, it lists out all the problems it found, and, most importantly, it proposes potential solutions with some rough cost estimates. And it all wraps up with a clear, final recommendation. Here's what we think you should do next.
And that recommendation leads to this moment, the ultimate decision. Based on the facts in that report, management can confidently give the project a green light to move on to the next phase, or they can give it a red light, saving the company from pouring money into a project that was doomed from the start.
But hey, this process isn't foolproof. The biggest risks are, you guessed it, human. As you can see, things like analyst bias can be a problem, but the real project killers are poor communication and, the big one, incomplete data. Getting these things wrong can completely sink the whole investigation. Diligence is everything.
But when it's done right, that's what a systems survey is all about. It's about taking a deep, honest look at where you are right now, flaws and all, so you can create a solid, fact-based foundation to build something much, much better.
So here's the key takeaway. Before you ever rush off to build a solution, you have to be absolutely sure you're solving the right problem. And it all starts by asking the right questions.